Thank you for the donation. This is from Brazil. I took one for myself, one for my anonymous friend, and some other food, and gotta be grateful, thankful for this donation. Gonna put the backpack now. It's got more than 44 pounds, and we're gonna go. Thank you for the food donation. We're gonna go work out. Left. Late in the game, but we're gonna go work out, train, exercise, and we're gonna overtime it. Thank you for the donations. Food security, including myself, who's financially stressed. But financial stress aside, now I got the backpack, and that's how we're gonna rock and roll it. 24/7 for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, and the welders across the 63, train conductors, bus drivers, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. Gotta make sure. Thank you for the donation. I got some 4 pieces of little bread and some chicken, and I got some of those bags. There were 7 of them, and I took one for myself, one for my anonymous friend, and we're gonna see how that goes, because supposedly from what I read on the back, I never purchased that before in my life, but from what I read in the back, it was easy to do. You just put it a little bit, although it was best before date 3 months ago, but it's still good for 6 to 1 year after the best before date, or even after the expiry date. I did a lot of volunteering in food banks because I had my share of stress of food security. Right now my only stress is financial, but you gotta be grateful. It is the 7th of July, and gotta begin with gratitude, because I got that protection in case of the rain, because it's supposed to rain. It was stormy. I heard at least 4 powerful thunders, and it rained actually 4 times in a row. 1 mild one big one small one, and then 1 super large one. I guess to go with the 4 thunders, but that's what we gotta be doing. And here we are on the workout training on July 7th, and I'm still waiting to see some response. I'm gonna do some follow-ups on some emails, and see, I'm open for business 24/7, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the grocery store clerks, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's how we gotta get that rock and rolling for the train conductors, the politicians who support more charity, and a little bit more, The millionaires can give a little bit more. Wall Street closed there 4:30 p.m. It closed on the EST, Their bell rang, and give some charity if you made $1 million buying, selling future option, put stocks on that trade market for the train conductors, the butchers, the plumbers, the electricians, the nurses, those in the daycares who change some of those diapers. Always got to rock and roll for them. And right now my only stress is really financial, but due to my condition, Asperger's, there's this problem which we Aspies encounter the most. It is of course 3 main problems actually. And before I get into Asperger's, because it's of course always for my fellow Aspies, but this special march, more than 4 hours march, is of course dedicated to Texas, because yours truly was born in the United States 3 times post 76. Once was born as a woman. You heard that correct. That's why you get 50-50 now. Twice was born as a man and served in the United States Armed Forces. 2 different wars, 156 years apart. I'm just gonna adjust a little bit of that backpack, because I got some food which I've taken from that fridge there. The fridge. It's a community fridge here in Montreal, in DG, where people donate. And I wish I could just fill it up once. I guess if I make some money one time, I'm just gonna spend some dollars and just fill it up. And if not, I'm gonna clean it, because you know how it is. We gotta be, of course, grateful, thankful, and all this civilization is a privilege. So I was born in the United States 3 times post 76, once as a woman, twice as a man. You get that 50-50 now. Androgynous, pansexual, Aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher. On a fitness journey, my fitness journey always commences with the sun rising, sunsets 24/7. Geopolitics, sports, and fitness. And gotta send some love all over the way to Texas. The surfing and the problems in Texas, of course, where they had a big storm and some citizens lost their lives. And the only thing I'm calling, of course, for the billionaires to pitch up public-private partnership. And we need the Dragon Army, the North American SSD, the Legion for the 63, for the Empire, Pledge of Allegiance legions. We're gonna get on the fusion of Canada and United States in a public-private partnership manner, in the coast-to-coast, ocean-to-ocean, and of course implement my bipolar strategy bipolar strategy, of course, not to be confused, of course, with the bipolarity as in, of course, a psychological, psychiatric sense, but in, of course, the sense that it is a bipolar, not again in the psychological sense of bipolar strategy, merely as relating to geopolitics, nothing else. But of course, as an independent geopolitical theorist, theorist and strategist, now I gotta do what I did, and I delayed my march and work out for a few hours because I did some laundry. And turn your heads left or right when you gotta be prudent on the roads, because the cars sometimes don't press the citizen driver, of course, don't press the brake, they press the accelerator instead. So always turn your heads left or right around three times each. If you're in a 4, depending, of course, if your trajectory is north-south or east-west. Now I'm heading east, of course. I'm coming from the west, and that way is south. So it's always something to be prudent in the public, especially myself, because I'm filming my marches. So I'm always conscious my individual liberty and work to be parallel and in consequences. Much as equilibrium with my fellow other citizens as individuals, part of this great North American collective of Quebec, Canada, United States, and it's always something. I know a lot of people are stressed, and myself, I live to being depressed, being suicidal, and right now it's just kind of joy. But financial stress in parallel, I guess. And I live with this neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's, and I have my special Aspie routines, Aspies, we have special routines, and those routines, of course, are ritualized like routines. And so these ritualized like routines make us super focused, super intense, super dedicated when we are involved in those special routines, especially when we're engaged, when we work, or we're engaged, when we're involved, or when we do learning, studying, whatever the case may be, those special interests. Of which mine, of course, special interest is the Holy Trinity, geopolitics 24/7. Sports and fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, and with that, of course, rock and roll. So that's my holy special trinity of interest. And any point in given day, most of my time, my mental facilities and mental faculties and psychic energies are usually dedicated towards those main 3. Either geopolitics, sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, or rock and roll. Enough of my face, I guess, So we gotta do it, and always gonna be grateful, thankful, for paying my rent, paying my electricity. Got on these boots, and I'm excited about trying new things, of course, in terms of cuisine and food. But as an Aspie, I'm probably gonna have my habits of wafers. Aspie sometimes have these weird, peculiar culinary sometimes tastes, where sometimes we're just like to eat a lot of the same thing. And when it comes to sweets, my preference is wafers. And of course, I kind of get wafers every week, especially those ones that were $1 before. I gotta say, from $1 they went to $1.25, and latest to $1.39, which is considerably 39% interest in the past 3.5 years. And still they're good because they're 175 grams, but they're also imported, They're also imported, but I guess they buy in bulk, and they do the distribution and whatever, the calculation of the transportation, the import-export tax, and of course it's either the price of cocoa and I guess tariffs. I don't know if the tariff situation affected, because it was before the tariff war commenced. It went up to 25 cents, and from 25 it went, of course, by 39. So that's 14 cents. So maybe those 14 cents account for the new geopolitical, of course, situation where we find ourselves, where we are living in a trade war ever since April, I guess, so-called Liberation Day. And I'm no Trump supporter. I would have voted for Kamala or Biden, but Granddaddy Trump did a mistake when coming in relations with Canada, because geopolitically, this following statement, which I'm going to make, was applicable yesterday, all throughout the 20th century, is applicable today, and for the coming 21st century, of which we have begun the first quarter 2025. Beautiful. Thank you, public workers who embellish the cities like that. Gotta give some LOV, rock and roll, for that. I love seeing flowers like that when I pass. And of course, Granddaddy Trump. Nothing personal. I oppose most of the policies, and I believe my policies to fuse Canada and the United States best. Mass PPP, public-private partnership necessary. And of course, the underlying fundamental factors is that in geopolitics, so us, Canada, United States, and this is reciprocal. This is not only applicable for Canada towards the United States, but also for the United States towards Canada. When it comes to our foreign domestic, most important foreign domestic interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with each other. So this geopolitical statement, this of course is a fact. When it comes to the external, now I'm not speaking about domestic internal affairs. This is strictly foreign affairs, of course. It's foreign affairs when it comes to foreign affairs. And those foreign affairs is, of course, something which we have to be implementing on the go, and we have to be implementing on that rock and roll 100% without any hesitation. And we have to say yes to this following statement. There's no, and there's no maybe. So our main interest is to have the best, most cordial economic, financial, commercial, sports, cultural, security and defense, diplomatic relations with the United States. Yes, Uncle Connie, and yes, Granddaddy Trump. This applies for the United States towards Canada, and Canada towards the United States. This is just like the symbol, mathematical symbol, the pie. Not a pie to be confused like the edible pie for an apple pie, strawberry pie, chocolate pie, or blueberry pie, or any other sorts of pies. But of course, it's the mathematical symbol as it relates to the circumference and diameter of a circle relating to the area, right? So it's always 3.1416, 3.1415, and it comes out infinitum, but it's rounded up to 3.1416. So that is consequently something which you have to keep in mind. That's just what it is. It's a constant mathematical reality. The pi symbol, it's like an N with double head, two heads, two faces, two heads, two faces, two heads, two faces, two heads, two faces, two heads. So that is always constant. There's no way around that. Ultimately, there's no way around that, right? So that is just what it is. The pie and that's just what it is. For our geopolitical realities, for our world, for our North American collective geopolitical realities, it does not alter, it does not change. That is just consequently what it is. And so abjectly, and of course without any, I guess you have emotions and feelings and sentiments and subconscious feelings about it, but the geopolitical reality is such as I stated it. Our main interest, economically, financially, commercial, when it comes to foreign affairs, not internal domestic affairs, external affairs primarily is to have the best economic, financial, commercial, diplomatic, sports, cultural, defense, security, etc., 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 with each other. So that is a constant geopolitical reality. So to the aforementioned statement, one citizen of Canada and the United States have to say yes. There's no, there's no maybe to that. So anything that we do thereafter is our foreign policy, that has to be number one in the first place, oriented in the first place. The best, regardless of any other external trade, military alliances, etc., 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 etc. Right? Yes, NATO, but still, NATO is still on the first place to have the best security, economic, financial relations with each other. That is it's semi-paradoxical. It's not fully a paradox, but it's just the historical development and our historical future destiny. You know, future destiny, if you want to explain it in such a manner. You know, explain it in such a manner particular to our realities as they are in real geopolitics, right? And keep in mind that geopolitics is my special interest, and I of course am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and of course a strategist. And of course the strategy is fundamentally for something which we have in common, and all who come here, of course, on the go and on the left and on the right. So this is of course also the paradox, is that this applies on the right and on the left. On the right and on the left, and in the center, of course. So there's no way around that, brothers and sisters. You can argue all you want, but there's no argument to be had with that statement. That is just the geopolitical realities of where we fundamentally find ourselves. And of course today, as I gotta say my gratitude because I'm financially stressed, but my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, still gotta pay my phone tomorrow, I guess, because taking my anonymous friend to see a movie because it's $5, so I saved $20 to go see 2 movies because it's 10 for 2 movies for one individual and 10 for another individual. So I had put away $20 to go because it's been a while, and I said it's gonna do some good, you know, to get out of the house, go see some movies. And I'm also an artist, and if you want some dialogue for movies, I'm good at that. I'm good at artistic, geopolitical theorizing and analysis and strategy for the North American Collective first and foremost, and some rock and roll and some dancing as I lay the foundations for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses. And of course those kisses are fundamentally, these are going to be the first empire, which is going to be God blessed Canada United States fusion and goddess kiss, you know. As I do say the word goddess, of course I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to have all the answers. I do not claim to have all the answers pertaining to different levels of society or levels of understanding certain other things, which of course, if you know that as an Aspie, I might be very vulnerable. And I've been learning due to a book, thanks again to my anonymous friend for a book called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. Asperger's, the condition which I have, again, is not a mental illness. It is a neurological mental divergent condition. It makes us a bit socially awkward, weird, strange, and odd. We lack certain dimensions of processing social awareness and dynamics, non-written rules and of a social manner and social nature. And thus we can be extremely weird, but when certain things we can be direct, such as I will be now, my brothers and sisters, from now on. I survived hell and back, survived COVID, survived being depressed and suicidal. And if you want to be a friend with benefits, black, white, men and women, you know, you want to do some loving, because I'm also part of the LGBTQ community, although the LGBTQ community is, of course, bigger than the fellow Aspie communities. LGBTQ community is around 5% of the population in North America, Gen Z, millennials combined. And of course, Asperger's, people with Asperger's like myself, we constitute less than 1%, less than half even, is 0.44% only in North America and throughout the world, 0.44%. So there's not a lot of people have no idea what it is, because it's a rare condition, and it's not, yes, it's a disorder in certain things, which sometimes we can seem disorderly when we're involved in certain things. But not when I'm involved in geopolitical study, analysis, and theorizing. Now when I'm involved in rock and roll, and when I do my marches, when I work out, train, exercise, because those are my 3 things which, of course, I excel at. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? Hey, look at that. See there? That's artistic, you know? That's artistic, you know? And that's artistic for that, and that's all we gotta get doing. And that's how we gotta get drilling on that rock and roll. And I just got some hope because I saw people holding hands, and you know, it's always important for me to see some people, you know, just showing some love and affection, and hugging, holding hands, and kissing is allowed, and caressing even, you know, those four are allowed, you know, in public. It's to a certain extent you gotta be aware if there's, you know, elderly and what have you, but fundamentally overall it's something which is fundamentally allowed, you know, fundamentally allowed. And that's how we gotta get drilling with that. And I always like, and if you're black, white, man, woman, you gotta be 18 plus or whatever on the state. I'm speaking from a Montreal, Quebec perspective, and it's friends with benefits only. You want to come some loving here, a man and woman, you know, just I guess some get dirty, get back clean with hygiene, but you gotta be 18 plus, you know. I'm gonna card you just like when you go buy some liquor, when you go buy some booze, when you go buy some, here we have coast to coast since 2019, we have legalized cannabis, and I don't smoke much, but I'm just saying, you know, if you are a smoker of cannabis, weed, we have the best here in Montreal, Hawk Island, you already know. I love this is with books, but now I have 4 at home, but I'm always interested to see what's put here. The Costly Trio. Always good to have this around. You got some French. That's why that book there in French. Here we As a Quebec Canadian, we love our French, and you know my bilingual videos. I do bilingual vids, and I learned some Spanish in my home, my underground room of San Tempo. It has been, of course, English, French, Spanish, English, French, Spanish, English, French, Spanish, and that's how we drill it with that, and that's how we gotta get on the rock and roll. Sometimes we just have to drill it, you know, and that's how we have to do it, you know. We have to salute the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, grocery store clerks, electricians, IT workers, plumbers, bakers, butchers, nurses, doctors, and firefighters. Always gonna send some love to the firefighters across the 63 Special Texas Edition, dedicating this march to Texas. I dedicate this march in rock and roll, large special freestyle rock and roll for Texas, and you know, I have been and will call for the formation Constitution of the Dragon Army, aka North American Imperial SSD Legion, to be also for the security service and defense based on my new 911 Total Dragon Army protocols for North American security service and defense, and in parentheses, emergency response. 12 legions across the 63, meaning the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories which we're gonna fuse, and always gives me some hope. And I see people working out, training, exercising, and let's go, go. LOV, finance some massage therapy to the, you know, those who pick up the garbage every day. Not every day, but every day somewhere in the world. In my neighborhood, it's once a week. It is today, actually. I just took a big black bag out, and gotta give some loving to those on the big truck there. On the big truck, you know. Love you, big hugs. Please, Wall Street, finance them a massage therapy session. They're athletes. They go on those machines, and always got to give them some loving with that. And always got to give it for the butchers here. I'm going to just go for a second, and we're going to come back. Got some $2 candy, but that's what I need. That's what I'm going to get, and we're going to put it in the backpack. I'm gonna show off what I got, and here we go. Something which I guess I needed, but I was within budget. Here you can have some donation. Somebody donated some basmati. You can have that. Somebody can take that, and with the pair, 4 items there which you can go, and that's how we can get a drill on that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and rolling, you know, for the firefighters, bakers, butchers, nurses, and doctors, plumbers, and electricians, the bakers, and all those, of course, involved in that butchering and financing. And we're gonna get on that go there, on the left, on the right. So where we're heading, actually, we're gonna go see who's gonna work out at the gym. If there's gonna be some, of course, some storms, maybe. Not sure, but maybe some more storms coming on, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that. And I guess here we can put, I guess, where I can stack these up. I guess we're gonna go and we're gonna put them in the, I can have a big pocket, so we're gonna drill it on. And where we're heading is actually to see the public gymnasium, see who's made it to the public gym, you know, who made it to the public gym. And that's where we're heading. I want to see who's made it on the storm. We might flip and go to the to the mountain, I guess, but that's where we are initially headed, and that's how we're gonna get those drills in the pocket. And always grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee. I didn't want to film inside there, but still, let me look. I got to double check for a loonie. I couldn't find the $2, and just check. I hope I didn't drop it, because, you know, unless somebody who needs it finds it, not a millionaire billionaire, but give it to charity. If you're a millionaire billionaire, you find that $2, you better give it to charity, buddy. Otherwise, lightning comes from the stars, thunder, you know. I'm not totally selfless. I'm not totally selfish. I try to be balanced, a balanced approach best, you know. But, you know, who deserves to be financed a massage therapy session? Because I've been calling for a massage therapy session myself. Any volunteers? Oh, yes. That's beautiful. Gorgeous little flowers on my way as I go. See, for the gym, and that's all we gotta get drilling on that, and that's all we gotta get drilling on that, and we gotta get drilling on the lovers, the butchers, the bitches, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and that's how we're gonna get doing on that drill, man. You know, something which we gotta get doing on that, and we gotta get meditating, and the youth are happy, joyous. I'm happy, joyous, because the children are innocent, you know. So whenever I see them happy, joyous, and bouncing up and down towards the sky like a rabbit, carry on, privates. That's why I'm gonna get that drill. Children of the Empire, you know. Gotta watch them like a H-A-W-K, like a hawk, good hawks. Hawk, H-A-W-K, hawk, my totem bird, you know, the hawk, H-A-W-K. We got hawks here in Montreal, and now we're heading towards the gymnasium, and then we're gonna drill it in by the other side, and that's just how we're gonna play it. And maybe I'm just gonna go to the mountain, I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll go to the gym. I feel like going to the gymnasium, of course, to see, of course, who is there working out, training, and exercising. That's how we gotta get doing with that. That's how we gotta get on that drill for the left, for the right, for the butchers, and the bakers, the nurses, the doctors. And I love these little flowers. There's kind of spiky. I have no idea what their names, and in the parallel life I know this tower. Everything with that goes through this tower. I know all the information. The wisdom is related to the construction, of course. The butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's how we gotta get doing like that, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know. That's how we gotta get on that trip, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love.
White Caucasian is the
Yeah. Yeah. That's how we gotta get doing, man. For the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, and all those involved in the production and distribution of food and food production. Starting to rain again. Starting to rain again, but I don't mind. I just had a flash of rock and roll. I just imagine singing some rock and roll and the public workers, those picking up the garbage, you know. Picking up the garbage. Singing on free rock and roll for garbage collectors, aka sanitation workers. I know there's a little bit of that strike in Philadelphia. That's what they are, man. That's what they're doing, you know. That's how they're gonna get that rock and roll, you know. So I gotta get drilling, man. Oh well, I guess I'm all covered up, so a little rain won't mind it. So now because of the rain, I will go to check. I will go to check who's there at the gymnasium. Who's there at the gymnasium, you know? Let me check if I find that $2. Or maybe I miscounted. I didn't have the $2. It was all quarters. Whatever. Point is, I didn't go over budget. It was $9. I had a $10 budget, so I still got a $1 back. Well, what does that say, that rock and roller? As you go, gotta spin it for you eat. Gotta spin it for the pleaser. Gotta left or right, you know, I gotta squeeze her. And you know, I just started out of nowhere. Sorry, I gotta find a spot. I'm not gonna be able to last until, of course, to the... So I have to go in the corner maybe there. Oh yeah, that's what it's gonna be. Have to relieve myself, I just can't, otherwise I'm gonna go all over. This is nice though. This is nice. I did test of the Canadian. So it remains a mystery because I find it too loud, but I didn't use it, but it remains a mystery if I had it or not. Whatever. Point is, now to pee. In the corner I can't, sorry public, but you're not gonna see my little tiny little clit, dick. Like I said, I couldn't hold it and I made sure there was nobody, and otherwise I would have gotten all over me, you know. It would have been all over. I think I got 4 little drops of 4 little drops, so not big drops, not medium size, not super big, not super tiny, but small ones. Wash it. I did laundry today already, so grateful, thankful I got a laundry machine, and saluting the troops. Let's get that Dragon Army public-private partnership. That's how we're gonna get drilling with that. And once again, who wrote this here? That's how we gotta get doing with that. And that's how we got doing on the drill, and you know, take a few steps, sing some for the legions, NDG legions. Gotta be, pledge your legions for the NDG. Gotta sing for the vets. You know, they build this thing called Civilisation and the US flag with the Canadian flag. Gotta get it on the go, and gotta get it on the left, and I gotta get it on the right, and so we gotta get on that left and right, and gotta get it for that bingo across the street. Prudently, in prudence. Super important to cross the street prudently. See how my mind now works? Because of course, geopolitics is my special interest. I always click when I cross highways like this. And my mind, of course, always integrates all the highways, like this one is going north and east, and all the trucks, salutations, rock and roll to the truckers. Those across the 63, how many carrying how many goods? Sausages, bacon, cheese, some bread, some oil maybe, milk maybe. At this point in time, you know, and we're open for sabotage and espionage. I'm gonna cross the street prudently here to go. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street. And we're gonna go hydrate there, because this is new, by the way, and wash my hands, you know, because I held my little tiny clit dick, androgynous little scar. Little clit dick clicked. Sometimes goes got his best rocket like, and usually gonna wait a few seconds and gonna wash my hands. Gonna wash my hands, and HYDRAT, thank you to the workers who built from the collective all these for us to have running water. It's quite a privilege. We got a lot of work to do, eh? We work for rehabilitation of the workers, and the public works. It needs to be a massive rehabilitation. It requires a mass public-private partnership. Best my way, best of the empire, the kingdom. Let's go HYDRAT. Usually leave about 10 to 20 seconds for the pipes to clear. yeah, that's always something good with that, and that's always something which we gotta be mindful of, that this is part of a privilege of civilization. And of course the privilege of civilization is my thesis in 2023, 2 years I have to revise it, and of course I dictated it orally because most of my dictations, philosophies, ideologies are dictated orally, of course. So that is what yours truly is, also a YouTuber, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical analyst, and theorist, and strategist, geopolitical strategist. And of course, whenever I pass bridges like that one, I always interject and of course always philosophize and compliment integrally that event, me crossing this corner there where the truckers were, pointing it in conjunction with my geopolitical analysis. And of course, it's a go Texas, go Texas, LOV to Texas. And of course, I do have to restate and repeat, because I repeat it every video, but I take great pride in my independent geopolitical theoretical analysis and strategies. And of course, we gotta get doing on that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll. And I gotta give a shout out to whoever painted this. We should support and we should embellish more who can paint like this and operate like this on the paint. That's how we gotta get doing on that, and that's how we gotta get on that rock and roll, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know. So something which we have to be drilling on the go, and you know, something which we have to be loving on that rock and roll, you know. Anyways, so point in fact, of course, the point of remarcation is to remark in the most succinct manner is, of course, that I'm always switching my brains, my psychic abilities, natural brain computational abilities, and of course analytical abilities and theoretical abilities whenever I pass by a highway such as I just passed. And of course I computed and interjecting of course with my analysis of 2019 when I predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration on the horizon. And gotta love those crane operators, and that's how we gotta get drilling like that, and we gotta get it for that. Look at that, that's a good crane. I wonder how much it can weight. Imagine all the cranes, you know, to build the North American complex. That's how we gotta get it on the drill, and that's how we got, you know, for the North American complex. And that's how we gotta get it on that drilling, man. We've got 4 seconds, plenty of time. But nonetheless, hey, look at that beauty. Isn't that just beautiful, gorgeous? At least to me it is, but there's a practical beauty to it, right? Because it has a practical applications, the beauty that is. It has a practical application, you know, because it enables us to mass build the construction, and enabled us to build skyscrapers, but also the pyramids, the Colosseum, you know, the hanging gardens. And it dates back to thousands and thousands of years. We're now in the 20th and 21st century. I wonder what innovations have been made in the 21st century when it comes to cranes. If anybody made it this far and you're interested in my work, in my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, which, you know, that I got a little bit of a crane fetish, and by extension some LOV for the crane operators. If you're a crane operator, you get free massages, free hugs, tickles with it, some rock and roll, you know, because it's something which I admire, a crane operator. And you know, you see my videos for many years that I always have a little bit of a fetish for cranes, and by extension crane operators, you know. That's how it is. And the public workers, you know, the public workers on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing for that Arbeit. And always wonder how these machines were built. And of course the operational throughout the North American Civilizational Collective, as we go up and down for the constitution, of course, of the collective, as we are engaged in a correlative manner. And of course I'm gonna pass by where I got my vaccines. I got my vaccines right there, triple vax, post-COVID vaccinations. You know, last one I got was about 2 years ago, so 3 vaccines for me, that's enough. Unless there's another big wave. I think last month there was a news that in China, India, there were some variants, although I guess it died down a little bit, or it was inconclusive. There was no conclusion to exactly what had transpired, correct, or something similar to what I just said, but there was nothing really conclusive about what had transpired interjectionally, and just to state that it was not in North America or anywhere else in the world, but in China, India, supposedly they had a COVID wave, and I was thinking maybe another lockdown is on the way. I guess it could happen if we find out in the coming days that there is a COVID resurgence. I guess we're gonna have to take some measures again, but suffice it to say that I had COVID between February 2020, mid-February 2020, and end of March 2020. But me, COVID struck me really hard. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, you know? So for me, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. I thought I was gonna die during COVID. I survived COVID. I think there's a bench there best suited for what I will to do, which is of course show off a little bit of what's in the backpack in terms of the dimensions, of course, which are mentioned of what was donated for me, you know, as a food security, and see where those benches are so we can sit down a little bit and just not for much, not for long, but that's what we gotta get doing on that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the go, and they gotta get doing on the left, right, Z, and that's why they gotta put it on that, man, you know, always on a proper bench where we can, of course, get it on the left and on the right, and that's what we got for there, and we gotta get for the lovebirds, and here's a beautiful place if you want to see, and that's how we gotta get doing on that love side of things, you know. Here it is. For the nurses, gotta get some salutations, some work, some rock and roll for the nurses, doctors and the firefighters. That's what I can do, rock and roll, man. So I got vaccinated over there. It was in the corner, we're gonna pass by it. That's where I got my vaccines. 3 vaccines, I guess, at the same place. And here's a place where you can, I guess we can just sit on the bench here and stretch and continue our arbeit. Here we are. Show off a little bit. Then we're gonna go put it on. See, here we are. So I got some bread. This is gonna have to be cooked. I wonder if this is imported or Canadian. I guess it didn't say, but I don't know if this is a good question. It's eggplants. Do we grow eggplants in Canada? Yeah, I think we do, eh? Probably. Les aubergines in French. French is aubergine. I'd like to speak French here, but hey, how come I don't know if we grow? I should know this, if we grow. I gotta learn. We're learning every day. We should know. Fellow Canadians, do we grow eggplants in Canada? Should know this, man. I should know this. Right? Definitely should know it. I guess, at least. So here's the donation. It's supposedly prepared mixture for cheese bread, so it's very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 steps. Oh my goodness, it's wow, it's not written, but you need eggs though. It's not written, and I'm just gonna clean it a bit with the disinfectant. I'm just gonna clean a bit. I'm gonna clean all the products. I'm gonna check it out. It's in this is from Brazilian industry, but there's no translation, so I guess I'm gonna have to look by the eye. For 1 kilogram of mixture, so for this fully, so I got one for me, one for my friend. So this is already I got this. So 1 kilo, that's 3 kilos. 3 kilos on this cookies. Those 3 kilos, these two, I guess, they constitute one for me, one for my friend. These gotta be eaten soon, I guess. Gonna have to cook them. Eggplants. And this is for food. This is some bread, 4 little pieces of bread. They're tiny, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and some chicken and some fries, and that's about it, you know. That's all we got. And these, because I need these for late night. And there you go. And that's my $9. I stayed within budget, stayed within budget, stayed within budget. This is what the items that I bought, see. So, gonna bag that up and put this on top. Stretch a bit and get ready to continue the rock and roll. All the way to the gymnasium, see who made it to the gym. Gonna cover this, make sure that it's closed properly. And now it's got about, I would say it's got anywhere between 44 pounds, minimum 44 pounds, maximum 66, because I got the gloves and I got other stuff. So yeah, definitely 44 pounds. Because a kilo is already 2.2 pounds, right? So all those 3.7 pounds already, plus the gloves are a few pounds, plus the other stuff, plus what I got, the bag itself is a few pounds. So anywhere between 44 minimum and 50, 60. And there we go. Now we got the backpack on. Gotta see this an additional workout, you know. So we're gonna add some more workout on those. Make sure I got everything in. So there's a mystery whether it was a $2 or just change, and I mistook it for a $2. So we're gonna pass by where I was vaccinated. So I got the vaccines at the corner. 3 vaccines there. 3 vaccines. And that's it for me. I'm not getting any more vaccines for real. But if, of course, I do keep the protocols of the public hygiene, which I do urge everybody to keep the protocols of the public hygiene, which were, of course, it's a good habit to have, you know. Good habit to have. And that's where I got something in my right eye. Piece of, I don't know what it was, but it's like white and black almost, you know, something white, and then black almost, and then a little bit of contrast between. See, that's the mountain there. That's Westmount, one of the 3 peak mountain Mount Royal system where we go, and that's miles and kilometers away. That is, you can go by that way, and of course it looks up. But here we go on the march for Texas. I'm imagining it's out there with the Dragon Army to get some help and to help in any way, shape we can, of course. And sometimes it takes some brains, some muscle, and we're gonna see how the situation goes. But of course, this march is dedicated to my brothers and sisters in Texas. 163, which we're gonna fuse the 10, the 50, and the 3. It's now 1 state, it's 13. We're gonna add in the Imperial Perpetual Union, which we're gonna sign soon in coming days, weeks, and months ahead, preferably by, let's do it September 11th on the mountain, I guess. September 11th would be propitious and complimentary. Would be a good idea and a good theory to do, but something in my left eye. I got healed fast, but I had COVID. COVID, I thought I was gonna die. And also, just to bring up the condition that I live with called Asperger's. Of course, Aspies, we are neurodivergent, so it's not a mental illness, Asperger's. That's where we have to understand each other fully. Aspies have these brain mutations. So they're tiny, not outwardly visible on the exterior cranium or, of course, head, but internal. Internally, we have these mutations at the micro level. So at the microscopic levels, there's these tiny mutations. Think of it like, let's say, 4 little microchips. Well, microchips is tiny, but I say 4 little microchips, 4 little microchips, and that's how I gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the drill, you know. So I love those buildings there. They were constructed, and they were constructed in the past. Recently, not that one. That one's new. Not that one. That one's older, but the other one is new. Right? So here. I got the vaccines, 3 vaccines here. Right here, I remember waiting in line. My memory goes back, that far goes back. My memory goes back 7, 8, 9, 10. And it becomes blurred, then 11, and then it's like a blackout. Retrograde amnesia, you know. I remember, so supposedly it's been 10 years. I thought it was going to be 9 this July, but supposedly this is my 10th year since I lived there. A way better place than where I used to live. I used to live in a moldy place, underground mold, lots of mold. Moldy place, like a tiny prison type of cell, you know. It was like a basement, tiny underground prison cell. Small basement, tiny underground prison cell type of situation, type of small prison cell. So I guess I served my time over there, but I don't remember, I have trouble remembering my life prior to spring 2014. 2014, 2014, 2014, 2014. That's all we got to get doing. Prior to 2014, you know, so that's all we got to get doing consequently, you know, 2014 to 2014. Sometimes memory comes back and either the mold or I don't know if I was a junkie, maybe if I was a junkie, maybe I guess due to Asperger's I was weird, awkward, and abused and bullied and XYZ. I remember being attacked by surprise a few years ago and hit my head on the concrete in the underground metro, and in the underground metro was bloodied up, and went to the Jewish General Hospital, and I had my dislocated right shoulder, right shoulder dislocated, banged my head and was bloodied up, and I was put on some meds, beautiful yellow flowers. I was put on some medications and was kind of like in a coma for a few days, and then I moved. I was depressed, suicidal. Unfortunately, Aspies like myself have Asperger's, which is not a mental illness again. We suffer from depression and suicide. I just found a bag. On there. I just found the bag. Just gonna check what's in it. Because if there's people with children here, if there's like broken glass, and if not, I'm gonna return it, you know. Oh, it's a light. Oh, okay, it's a light, I guess, for the bikes. And this is also a light. Oh yeah, for night, I guess. But if I leave it here and it rains, it's gonna damage it, you know. Because now it's raining, so it's gonna damage, and for environmental purposes, since it's batteries and lights, I'm gonna keep it on me, and I guess I'm putting it on my... I designed a site a few years ago, like 8 years ago, 9 years ago maybe, when I, on Facebook, lost Montreal Lost Objects, so it's 4 items, but it's actually, well, 4, is it 4 or 3? Let me double check. 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 items in a black bag. So I'm gonna put it on the Facebook here in the back of the hospital. Because if I leave it and it's supposed to be stormy again today and tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow morning, tomorrow overnight, see the black gray thunder clouds. So if I leave it and it's gonna rain, it's gonna pollute. You know, the rain goes in the electronics, and that's bad. That's bad. So I thought it was a bag, empty bag. Then I kicked it like 4 times, and then I decided to see what it is. And like again, if I leave it, I'm just gonna ask, of course,